5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Its velocity is cut by 800 feet a second, working more directly against gravity than planned. Reaching over 23,000 miles an hour, it carries to nearly 80,000 miles, 30 times as far as ever before.
What's up?
Hello, Art. Nice to see you. He was actually on holiday, but he's come to see us. He left his little cabin in the forest to come and join us today. So, Art, I'm going to leave you the stage for 37 minutes and 53 seconds, and then I'll be back.
Awesome, thank you. What's up, Paris?
Yes, we're good.
My name is Art. Bonjour. I don't speak too much French. I come from the land of unicorns, or as we like to say, the coolest country there is. Cool meaning cold, mostly. So as you can see, this is our nature. This is what Estonia is like. And we joke that we don't really like other people that much. And that's why we are very successful in IT. And that's what I'm going to talk about today, is what's happening in Estonia, what we are doing in Estonia, why we are doing it, and what you possibly could learn from us or from our mistakes. So I'm the managing director of e-Residency. E-Residency is a government program. It's subsidized by, I think the mic is not working very well, but you can hear me, right? So e-Residency is a government program which was created to actually enable economic growth. And as you can see, where Estonia is, I hope most of you know, we are quite far away from most of the countries, and we are very, very small compared to France, for example. So we have 1.3 million people. And that's a problem for us, because economically, we're not a superpower. And we have to do something to actually stand out in the world. So what we have kind of found our secret weapon is the ICT sector of Estonia. Here you can see some marks which we have been good at. OECD, World Economic Forum, digital development. I won't go into too much detail regarding all of these rankings, but I mean, we have done a fair bit of things well, and the main motivation and the kind of reason behind it is that we are a small, very small country, and we have to kind of work hard to actually be noticed. And of course, innovation is very much easier in a small country. So the best secret weapons that we have in Estonia, we consider internet a social right. Everyone in Estonia has a digital identity. So e-Residency, the topic that I'm mostly daily involved with, is a digital identity program. And for me, digital identity is like my key to my house. So I can't really imagine my own life without my key. Because when I lose the key, I'm useless. I can't do anything. I can't get into my house, I can't get to my work, I can't get into my car, etc. So we have a lot of services online. And we joke that there are two things that you can't do in Estonia online, which is getting married, / divorced, or buying property. For that, you have to have a physical meeting, because for understandable reasons, of course, you would like to know if you deal with these kind of transactions. So 99% of Estonian digital services are actually available online. And again, reason being, we are a very small country, and we have to do something to actually stand out. And as I joked before in the beginning, we don't really like to talk to other people that much, so we're in our quiet little forest cabins and keeping quiet. We like to collect your data only once. So for example, if you are born, you enter your data into the government system, the government has your data, meaning that now when you go to school, you don't have to give your data again. If you have an illness, you don't have to do it again. You don't have to do it again. And I mean, governments have the data already, so why should you actually submit it again and again? Our business environment is very simple and fast. It only takes a few hours to actually establish a company. Hassle-free tax. So you can actually remotely open a company using the digital identities. You don't have to work hard. You don't have to go to the tax authority physically. You don't have to go to the business registry physically. But you can do everything from your home, behind your computer. And we believe in efficiency and a fully automized system that the government knows who you are, and you can communicate with the government online from your computer. Health, super important. Can't really live without that. So we have a digital health system, meaning that if you have some kind of illness, you have prescriptions by your doctor. So you have this digital identity that I mentioned. You go to the pharmacy, and the pharmacy takes your digital identity, puts it in the computer, and will see your medical history or the prescription that you are prescribed with. So they issue the prescription in the pharmacy, so they already know what you have, and it's online. The same goes for ambulance, for example. So if something happens to you somewhere, you hurt your leg, so the ambulance who is driving to find you, they already have the information if you call the ambulance and you say your name and your personal code. So they have a list of your data inside the ambulance car, already knowing what, I don't know, allergies or what is your previous kind of medical condition. So once they get to you, your information is there, and once you get to the hospital, the information already has been transferred to the hospital. So it's very efficient, and we keep more people alive that way. Personalized medicine in the work, meaning that the elderly would actually have a preventative measures for medicine, so that we would know what are or what might be the future illnesses for the people. They might be diabetes or kind of inclusion towards cancer, but we need to study this even further to provide these solutions for the people. Electronic ID, as I mentioned, this is the backbone of everything. So you can see the card here, the card reader. You plug it into your computer, and this is what you need to actually be a part of the Estonian life. Without this, so this is your key. Don't lose this. So once you're born, you register your child's birth. You get a personal code, which is basically your name. And using that name, you do all of your communications with the state, or communications with the bank, the private sector, the telecoms, buying services online, loyalty cards, and as I mentioned, digital prescription and healthcare services, for example. So this technology is not anything new. You can see this is more than 15 years old. It's just a plastic card. But the innovation behind it is that there is a unified digital identity system. So when I am born, I am given this personal code. And with this personal code, I can be identified by the government. So a lot of people don't like that you are labeled with a number, for example. But in terms of government, it's a very efficient and easy way to have an overview what your citizens' services needs are and how to make their life easier by communicating with the state. So the platform that this runs on, we call it the X road. So imagine one big highway, a highway that is connected to smaller roads. And these smaller roads lead to different kind of institutions. So for example, tax. So everybody is afraid of the tax man. So we in Estonia, we're not afraid, because they already have all the information and we have nothing to be afraid of. So when I do my tax declaration, the tax authority will propose the tax declaration and I have to press yes or no. And I usually press yes because they know already what's happening. The same with banks. So you log into the banks with your digital identity. So you have your online transactions, you don't have to go to the physical bank office for anything. And this is the kind of backbone, let's say, the infrastructure that this digital identity runs upon. And it saves a lot of money because we don't have to print paper, we don't use paper, we don't use physical signatures in Estonia. So for example, if you sign a contract using a pen in Estonia, so we consider this to be not the safest thing. And we have exported this kind of knowledge to other countries as well. So there are other countries following with a similar model. Cyberspace is basically security in the online world, home of NATO Cyber Defense Agency and EU IT Agency. We have a Cyber Defense League formed, which Estonia is a part of, and we have a little project called the Data Embassy. So Data Embassy is basically an embassy that is online. And the idea is that if something should happen to our country, if there should be a physical aggression towards the country can be run digitally. So we have backed up our country in Luxembourg, for example, and one other place that I can't tell you. So if something should happen, then the Estonian government can be run through this kind of backup country place from 2 places in the world. So this is our backup strategy, plan B, if you might call it. And how this actually came into place, so what's the backstory behind this digital innovation is actually legal environment. So it's not about technology. It's not about having a lot of money. Of course, it has helped that we're a small country, meaning that we can do innovations much faster than, for example, France, which is a big country. But you have to have, first of all, political will. You have to have people who believe in this kind of technological innovation. And then you have to have legal, permissive environment for this to happen. So first you have to create the framework for these innovations to happen, and then you can follow with the technology afterwards. So technology and money are just in the second priority list. You might recognize this robot. It's called the Starship robot, which is kind of a very adequate robot for today here in this conference. So it's a delivery robot, and it's aimed to solve the last mile of deliveries. So for example, you, as we are at the POST conference, you ask to be sent a parcel or food. And there is a minivan that will stop maybe 2 kilometers from your home and will kind of disperse a number of these robots near your house. And they will come and drive to your house, and you will open it, and you will take your package from inside that robot. So this is currently used in a few US campuses, so university campuses, and being tested also in some parts of Estonia and Tallinn city. So we have a first driven bus that tested in 2017, and we test with a lot of robots. We just launched our artificial intelligence strategy for Estonia, so being the first country in the world to do so, because we see that robots are becoming more useful for government, becoming more useful for citizens as well. So from free public transport to self-driving vehicles or robots that do deliveries. That's Estonia. And now getting to the main topic that I am involved with, which is the digital identity program of e-Residency. So this is a digital identity, meaning that the same card that I showed you before. So we made this card not only for our citizens, but we made it available for foreigners. So all of you can apply to be e-residents of Estonia. What does that mean? No, you don't have to give away your French citizenship. You can still be French citizens, you will still be tax residents here, and you will live physically here in Paris. But what you want to do, or what you might want to do with e-residency is if you have customers globally. So if you're a software developer, you're a photographer, you're an academic or a writer, and your customers are all around the world, and you travel yourself constantly. So e-residency is a way to actually create your company to EU without physically being in EU. So you can create and manage a company using your digital identity. And it's mostly useful for people who spend their winters in Thailand, for example, and their summers in Germany or in US or in Asia. So they move around constantly. They're not in one place in the world. And today, it has been kind of a first project like this to grant or electronic residency to someone, because when you think of it, it's illogical that someone would have a virtual residency, right? Because physically you're still placed here. But how we came across this idea was that we see that governments are going to compete for citizens. So the best people are going to live in countries which have the best environments, the best talent, the best jobs. And we believe that this doesn't have to be physical. So you're not limited to your physical borders. It doesn't matter what citizenship you have or where you are from or where you were born. So we believe that you can become, for example, an e-resident without ever having to come to Estonia physically. So today we have e-residents from all over the world, around 67 countries, around 60,000 e-residents to date, and around 7,000 companies that they have created. So the main motivation behind e-residency is company creation. You can be an entrepreneur without physically coming to Estonia or EU. That's the main motivation today. But as you can see, most of the e-residents are e-residents because they love Estonia and they're just fans. They're fascinated about our story, what we're doing. So they're kind of these ambassadors to Estonia, which is awesome. And let's see if this video plays. I want to show you who is an e-resident. We have 60,000 of them. What do they do, who they are. And perhaps you can be one of them. Let's see.
Audio Jungle.
My name is Arzu Altanay. I live in Istanbul. I'm a professional tour guide and I have a career in cultural heritage. I have a company called Walks in Europe, which is established in Estonia through their scheme called e-Residency. We have a saying in Turkish, I bet the correct horse.
Audio Jungle.
Until 2015, we had a bloom in tourism in Istanbul. We thought we hit the jackpot. One day in 2015, everything just stopped working. And it happened very dramatically. Our clients stopped coming to Turkey. Even if I was able to reach my clients, the ones that I was able to reach, they weren't able to pay me because PayPal stopped operating. So I had to find somewhere else to run this business. I did a lot of search. I checked a lot of countries. I applied for startup accelerators. But the problem is not an industry that these developed European countries wanted to invest into. So through my research, one day, I still remember it, I saw the Estonian e-Residency website. It's like this website asking all the correct questions to me. It answered all of my business needs. E-Residency is a program that's supported by the Estonian government. It lets entrepreneurs run a company and accept international payments. So the e-Residency program has worked very well for my business model. So when I first applied, their reply was very, very quick, very efficient and very easy to understand. It's a very strange relief from my side because it happened so quickly and I didn't have to go to Tallinn. The only reason I had to go was to open the bank account, which now we don't have to. I'm always selling more than one tour every day. This is how the company flourished. Last year, I had bookings from my former clients from all around the world. Whoever traveled to Europe, they booked through my new company, which is wonderful. It gave me lots of confidence. Anyone who is thinking about establishing a company through e-Residency, The only thing I'm going to tell them is just do it. It's worth it, it's easy, and it is working.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
So Arzu, as you recognized, is a tour guide. And she's a Turkish citizen, and she had tours or customers all over Europe and even outside the European Economic Zone. And through some sanctions by the Turkish government and authorities at the time, PayPal stopped working in Turkey, which meant that she could still have the travels, but she couldn't withdraw the funds from her account using PayPal. And she was desperately looking for a new kind of way to actually do business or to set up her business entity. And this is a perfect example where you have customers all around the world. So you have an international business, you're based in one country, but you have problems there. And we can see this as a growing trend, is that people who would like to be entrepreneurs do not have the opportunity, or they have some obstacles why they can't be entrepreneurs. And the e-Residency is kind of one solution for these kind of problems. Now, let me be fully transparent. If you are a French citizen and you're providing services here in France, selling physical goods or whatever, then of course you shouldn't apply for e-Residency and you shouldn't create a company in Estonia, because that would make your life harder, because you would have to declare taxes in 2 of the places. But if your customers are global and you are traveling a lot, that you are not in France, your permanent establishment is not in France, you are a digital nomad or you're a remote entrepreneur, then e-Residency is definitely something that you can consider. And Arzu is just one of the examples. We've seen a growing trend from Southeast Asia, from the Asia part, where there are actually very interesting use cases. One of them is this kind of startup or young culture who want to enter EU market with their products. And another interesting use case are corporate, ex-corporate 55, 60 plus corporate workers who have retired from their corporations, but they think that they could still benefit and use their knowledge somewhere in EU. So they create a company from Japan to EU, for example, to Estonia, and they begin to offer consultation services or remote kind of management consultation or software development services. So the world is becoming borderless in that sense. We have around 2,000 people from Japan who have signed up for this program. Around 1,700 people from Korea. And it's becoming a kind of network effect. So these people, the e-residents, are creating these networks inside the countries. So for example, there are people from Turkey, from Korea, writing in the Facebook groups that, hey, I'm an e-resident from Turkey. Hey, I'm an e-resident from France. Is there anyone else like me? And then there's about 60 replies below. Yes, let's meet up, let's have a physical meeting, let's do business. So it's kind of a community, and it's living its own life slowly. Also, one interesting case, we have a few VIPs, we like to call them. For example, the Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, we have Angela Merkel, we have even Obama, who have become e-residents. Of course, they don't use the card for practical reasons. They don't sign documents digitally, and they don't do business, at least to my knowledge, inside Estonia. But they have become e-residents to kind of promote the Estonian story. And what's the meaning of all this? So why is Estonia doing it? What's the story behind it? Is that for us, with 1.3 million citizens, we have to kind of stand out, as I mentioned earlier, and through these e-residents, Estonian companies will get new services. So there are new customers for existing Estonian companies, also new Estonian companies, and international companies. So the list is like this, for example. You can see Nasdaq. You can log in with your digital identity, with your e-residency to the Nasdaq portal, and you can participate in shareholder meetings. So you don't have to go, if you have Apple shares, for example, you don't have to fly to Cupertino and participate in the shareholder meetings, raise your hand, or pay your expensive lawyer to do it for you. You can actually do this from your computer. So this is your key online. You can do this from anywhere in the world. And we had an interesting use case using BitNation platform, where 2 e-residents actually got married using the digital signature. So they broadcasted this on Google Hangouts platform, and they signed their marriage digitally. So they said that they were disappointed in their home country, their home nation, and they wanted to get married on their own terms. So this is also a very interesting use case or business case for e-residency that we never thought of in the beginning. And if I'm here next year, or we'll see you somewhere else, this is the picture we want to have with the private companies, so that they would scale. There will be more services available for these e-residents that they can use through their digital identity from anywhere in the world. Because this is where the world is slowly heading towards, slowly but surely. We have people who won't be working for the same company for 50 years, for 60 years. They will have different jobs. They're traveling around, and they don't want to stay in one place for too long. This is just some of the media coverage that we've gotten with the e-residency program. So by definition, it's not anything new. Again, a digital identity program. You can create a company in Estonia without the digital identity, but you can do it also using digital identity, and that's what we came up with. We gave this the meaning of e-residency, and the concept itself was quite innovative, so this has become quite famous inside in the world. And what's happening, I mentioned briefly about the trends. So according to few studies, the global online workers numbers will start to go up. The workforce, the US workforce, will be freelancers. So people don't want to work for the same company. They want to have different customers. They will not be corporate life people, most of them at least. So we're estimating that the freelance online community will grow 45%. And people won't be full-time employers, and they will be remote and cross-borders. So we can see these Upwork kind of platforms killing it at the moment. So imagine this, you have this world, and you can be anywhere. You don't have to be strained to one place. You can be in Paris today, you can be in Vietnam tomorrow. And you can be connected through this kind of platform using family, funding, climate engineers in all different kind of locations of the world. So using these kind of digital identity, you can participate in the financial world. You can get a bank account, you can get a loan, you can get incorporation. So you can actually have a business which a lot of people could not have had before. I know in France also it's not very easy to create a company. In Estonia it takes 3 minutes using an e-residency card. You plug it into your computer and you can do it very efficiently and fast. So we believe that this kind of digital identity card is the connection between the missing link that will give you independence for your location, financial inclusion, and will empower the people actually to be entrepreneurs, which they could not be before. So you have seen probably this graph somewhere in the social media. It's not anything new. All of these companies are already in the market for quite some time. But what's fascinating to see is that the new sharing economy, or the world, the biggest companies in the world today, they don't have any assets. They're not huge conglomerates that have mining pools or physical assets or oil or anything. So they're using the assets of the users. So whether it be our data, our photos, or our own cars, or our own apartments, we are freely giving or outsourcing these kind of assets that we have to these companies. And these companies are just making available for everyone. So we made one little addition to this graph, is that something is happening in the world. Why not Estonia be the world's largest country, but only having 1.3 million physical residents? So that's the kind of vision that we can see, that Estonia can be a country as a service and offer our own digital environment to a lot of people in the world. So that's it on my end. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So we've had some questions, obviously, from the guys in the room here. First up, how do you actually help people from generations that aren't used to working with internet and digital devices?
So when we became independent in 1991, this was a big problem that we didn't have enough funds or money to actually open up public offices. So, for example, post offices. We are a very poor country coming out of the Soviet Union, so we had to think of clever ways to actually offer services to our citizens efficiently. And we had training programs. So in department stores or these village communities, there were people who helped elderly, who helped people who didn't have experience. What is ID card? What is computer? What is a reader? Put it in. What is internet? What is browser? And today, you know, all of these community centers have internet connection. These older generations are YouTubing for real. They're not Twittering, but they're YouTubing, which is, you know, quite a good level of competence that they can have.
And did you have volunteers? Volunteers working?
They were actually paid a little
Paid
bit.
people?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. A couple of people have asked this question. I think it's quite important. Is it GDPR compliant, your program?
Absolutely, of course. We are still in the EU, and all that we do has to be compliant with GDPR. We are not United States, who is selling their data easily. But of course, yes, and maybe the once only principle to stress again. So we have in Estonia this law, for example, that if a policewoman or a medicine worker looks at your data without having a reason, so they have access to your data, but they have to have legal ground to look at it. And if for some reason they don't have this legal basis, but they still look at your data, if, I don't know, policeman is spying on her ex-girlfriend or whatever,
yes.
Then this is a serious, very serious offense. And we've had cases where the license is taken away from these employees. So we take GDPR and data protection very seriously.
Of course. Another question that's come up, is e-Estonia based on blockchain tech? There are articles that suggest the system is not viable and not environmentally friendly. What are your thoughts?
So there is this rumor going around that Estonia is a nation completely based on blockchain technology. That's completely false. Estonia has some databases, like our healthcare database, business registries that are based on similar technology, that the data is protected using, it's basically time-stamped hash technologies. But we don't use blockchain in Estonia that much at all. And regarding the economic friendly aspect, the mining of Bitcoin is economically unfriendly, but blockchain technology itself is not that harmful.
Okay. And just rapidly, is your system adaptable? I mean, like France, it just seems like, wow, a long way before we can get to something like this.
There has to be political will. People have to understand the benefits. So I'm here explaining the benefits for you, so you have to demand your leaders. You want the same kind of benefits, because
should we do a riot? Should we do something?
Your life becomes easier. And of course it's adaptable, but it's just a matter of will.
Of course. So you know what you've got to do if you're interested, guys. You have to manifest comme tous les Français.
I think you can do that well.
Yes.
France generally is
Yeah, generally we know how to do that. Well, thank you very much, Art. Thank you for being with us. Please give me a big round of applause. Very interesting.